and girls and staff and our guests who are here today. It is Friday and it is my favorite day of the week, and you know why. We're here in Chapel. We've got something really special in store today because we have one of our high school students that is going to be our speaker today, and I know you're going to love to hear the experience that she has had in Nicaragua. So we're going to be ready for that. But I have Chapel committee members here with me. Abby's going to do the welcome, and Joy is going to do our prayer for us.
Okay, good morning. Good morning. Today we'll be having Rebecca Lighthearter speak, as you know, and she'll be talking about her trip to Nicaragua.
Let's go. Dear God, thank you for this day, and let people hear a message out of the trip. Amen.
Now let's all stand for worship. This is great.
Experience worship every Friday here at TCE, you're welcome to come. And it's always an encouragement to my heart to be a part of this and hear our students give praise and thanksgiving. Well, today is a special day. And before I introduce our guests, there's someone that's here today, two people that are here today, and the reason you are sitting here in this school is because of them and their influence in making Troy Christian who come about. So I'm excited and thankful that Pastor Peters and his wife, Mrs. Peters, are here today because they are the folks who were in charge of First Baptist Church, who were ministering in First Baptist Church, which is the church that started this school. And if it wasn't for his leadership and his willingness to say we need a Christian school in Troy, we probably wouldn't be here this morning. So I'm going to ask if Mr. and Mrs. Peters, if you would please stand and let's thank them and express our gratitude for this. What we talked about in that last song was that we're to be the light. And part of the thing that we've always believed here at Troy Christian, and those of you that are visiting, so you hear a little more of why we do some of the things we do around this place. Because I believe that Jesus calls us not to be just people who receive the information or hear the teachings, but to live it out. And it's important for us to understand that our God and our Christ was a giver and a servant to people. And he calls us to be servants as well. And so one of the things that we believe is very, very important here is that we give ourselves to others. And that's why all our preschool through 12th grade, there's some type of an outreach ministry, missions, or whatever that we're doing all the time at Troy Christian. And one of those things that we believe strongly in is having opportunities for our, particularly when you get to high school, that you are able to go on the mission trips. Because I believe, again, it's through those mission trips that we begin to understand what God wants to do in our lives. And he wants all of us to be light. That's not a question. That's not even up for discussion. He wants all of us to always be light. But there are sometimes opportunities for us to begin to understand that there is a world outside of the US of A. And we need to begin to understand that there are a lot of people in this world who are much less fortunate than what you and I are. And sometimes we take all of that for granted. We get the mumble and the grumble going on, and we think that we got it so bad. Well, I'll tell you what, all it takes is one little trip somewhere else, and I begin to understand, wait a minute, I am blessed beyond blessing. And so this morning, we have two very special people on. What was it, Jan, 3 years ago? So you and I and Bob, okay, I think it was Mrs. Ward and I, and Mr. and Mrs. Lighthearter, and there were 3 others, a couple of doctors. I think the pastor from the church was there. When we went, they said, Gary, you've got to experience Nicaragua. You see, we were doing ministry and missions in the Bahamas. That was one of our first things, but we knew that we needed something else for our students, kind of a, you want to call it the last thing they would do, particularly if they were seniors. So they took us on a trip to Nicaragua, and this was in the rainy season, right? Wasn't it? Was it September? I think it was in September, October, right in there, okay? And we went with the lifeguards to Nicaragua, and there our eyes were open to a world that I've never experienced in my life. And when we came back from that trip, we said, we've got to make this a part of the mission opportunities for our students at Troy Christian. So last year, I believe it was last year, was our first year that we did it. It was just one of 3. This is one of 3. So for 2 years, we have taken around 20 to 27 people have gone over during what we call ESM week, which is the week before spring break, where we go off and we do mission opportunities. And so we've had a number of our kids that have gone over there. But I'll tell you what's so special about the lifeguarders, and again, there again is an experience where kids are wanting to repeat to be able to go back to Nicaragua. But again, what's interesting and wonderful to me, when we went and experienced Nicaragua, and I went there myself, I said there are a number of children that are in Nicaragua, and particularly in Chacacente. You're going to hear more about that. But I said we need to do what like World Vision does, and we need to adopt some of these kids. So this morning, the lifeguarders are going to come and share. Becca particularly is going to share. Becca is a junior, and she'll share some of the things about it. Becca just returned from Nicaragua for 5 weeks, where she was, and she's living it out. And what's so special about the lifeguarders, maybe you know Robbie. Okay, what Robbie? Is he 8th grade? 9th? 9th. He's at 9th, right? Yeah, he's 9th. Okay. Anyways, you know when the lifeguarders ask their children what they would like to do on their vacation, most of us, if we were asked that question, what would we like to do on vacation, we'd probably say if we had a choice, we'd be like Disney World, Florida, or something of that nature. We'd go have fun. The lifeguard children say every time we want to go back to Nicaragua. The lifeguarders have been there a dozen, at least 12 times. We're not choosing the last time. But often when they go, they take their children with them. And that's where they want to spend their vacation, is in Nicaragua. Well, this morning they're going to come and share with you Nicaragua. And they're going to share with you the children of Chacacente. And there you'll begin to understand a little more. So I want you to give a great welcome to Becca, who's a junior at the high school. And this is lifeguard. They're just going to share. You know, beautiful looking young lady. But she's also an athlete, and she is well respected by all those over at the high school as well. So Becca, we are thrilled that you're going to share your heart.
Hi, I'm Becca, and I'm a junior at high school. Now, this August, I left for a 5-week trip to Nicaragua, but it wasn't my first trip. My first trip I actually took when I was 11 years old. It was the summer before I went to 6th grade, and I have been, when I went on my 5-week trip, that was my 6th trip to Nicaragua. My first week there, I stayed in a place called Bradley House of Hope. That's the building of an organization called Resource Videos, and in English that's called God's Treasures. Now, Bradley's House of Hope, they bring in children around your age, a little bit older, and they do physical therapy with them, and they also give them special education, because most of these children are mentally or physically handicapped. Now, in the mornings, I would work with early intervention. That's like physical therapy for the little kids. And this is part of that. And then in the afternoon, I would do special education with kids who are a little bit older and could do schoolwork. This is a picture of me helping a little boy named Moises, and he's learning how to count. Now, while I was there, I stayed with a lady named Michelle Adams. Michelle kind of runs Bradley's House of Hope and Resource Videos, and I stayed with her at her house for that week. After that week, I stayed with Omar and his family. The maid is Omar, the woman is Maria, and Stephen is their son in the red shirt. While I was there, I shared this room with 2 other ladies. And I stayed in this room for about 3.5 weeks. Now, while I was at Omar's house, I worked at a place called Chacacente. Chacacente was an organization that took families out of the dump where they lived and took them to a farm area where they taught them to grow their own food and to provide for themselves. Now, when you're in the dump, this is what you would do all day. That was your job. You would find There's also some that were made out of trash bags and sticks. Now, this is part of Chapel Center. The building that's blue and white, that's the elementary. That's where I worked. And this next one is the high school. It has grades 6 through 9. And once you got to 10th grade, you would go away, you would ride your bike on a dirt road, and then go to high school in the city. This is all of the kids who go to Chapel Center. If you can see that first row, those are the preschoolers, and that's who I work with. Now, on my first day, I figured out that the preschoolers, there's a little place called a potpourri. It's like a tiny store where you can buy snacks. During their recess, they'd go to the potpourri, and they'd buy whatever little snacks they wanted. Now, this is another picture of them at the potpourri. But the lady in the red, her name was Fatima, and she's the teacher that I worked with the preschoolers. This is a picture of the front of the classroom, and then some of the kids who are having a little bit of trouble with their numbers, she's helping them out in this picture. And this is the back of the classroom. Right now, the kids are coloring a picture of a tree, and it's Nicaragua's national tree, because this first week, they were celebrating Nicaragua's National Independence Day. And then this is my first Saturday at Chapel Center. We had a parade for Nicaragua's National Independence Day. The 4 kids in the front are all some of my preschoolers, and they're in what you might call traditional Nicaraguan wear. This is a picture of me, Fatima, and some other preschoolers. We went during the parade. We were with another school. This is a picture of us at that school where we had a little celebration for the Independence Day. Now, they are preschoolers, so sometimes you just have those moments. This is some of the kids at recess, and this is one of the puzzles that I brought down. Most of their toys, man, they have tons of toys in the preschool because they love to play. And most of them are from the U.S. This is another picture of them playing Letters Day up there. Now, this is a picture that was taken on my last day at Chapel Center. When I was there, the kids put on a little presentation for me as a going away gift. But as you can see, if you can look real close, they're all holding things in their hands. And just about every student made me a card before I left. Now, on the weekends, I didn't go to Chapel Center. I spent the day with Omar and his family. And we would go everywhere in Nicaragua. In almost every city we went to, we would visit big churches called cathedrals. And this is a picture of one. But it's really crowded because we went there on a Sunday, but it was also a special celebration for one of their statues of Jesus Mary. Now, on one of these trips, we decided to pull over to the side of the road and buy a parrot. His name was Choki. Now, Choki wasn't the best looking parrot. We had him in a box, and when we would get out of the car, we'd leave him in the box in the car. But when we would come back, he wouldn't be in the box. That happened about 3 or 4 times, and we always had to send Stephen in there to catch him. Now, most of the time we found Choki, but there was one time we were pretty sure he fell through the car and onto the road. But instead, we found him under the dashboard. You can see him right there. Now another weekend, I went with Omar and his family to the beach. This is a picture of me and Omar's sister Anna. We're about the same age. And then this is another picture of us at the beach. You can kind of see him splashing Anna right there. Well, that's because Stephen and their cousin went to put some in their hair. Now, my very last week in Nicaragua, my dad and my youth pastor, Mike Bowler, came down to pick me up. But we had a few more mission works that we wanted to do. This is a picture of some of the supplies we brought to Chapel Center for the families. Now, we do this on our trips on the SM too. But normally we have a big bus to haul all of it. And in this case, we had a 5-passenger car. Now, she was pregnant when I was down there, but a few days before I left, she had a baby. So we were able to go and see her. Her name is Melanie June. And now, I really hope that I can see all of you guys on these ESM trips, because if we don't have kids come on the ESM trips, there's really not much going on. But now my mom's going to talk to you about sponsorship and how you can sponsor a child and maybe go on the ESM trip and see them.
Good morning. I'm Mrs. Leibarger, and yes, I'm the crazy mom that let my child go to a foreign country for 5 weeks. But she survived, and I'd do it again. This is a picture of myself and Yomara, the young woman that Rebecca talked about that we sponsor in Nicaragua. This was my first trip, the first time I ever met Yomara. She found me and just attached herself to me for the entire time I was there. So I went home immediately and decided that's the one I wanted to sponsor. Next picture. This is us a couple of years later. Next. And now we've come full circle. This is Yomara with her new baby, Melody. Next picture. This is Rebecca on her first trip with Yomara. So you can see that both girls have changed quite a bit over the years. I want to talk today a little bit about what all you can do to help the people in Nicaragua. And many of you kids have already helped a lot. If any of you remember last year, bringing in school supplies or baby items that we took down on the trip, and a lot of the stuff that you saw in the pictures that Rebecca had up there in the classroom, they're able to do those art projects because of the supplies that you sent. There's many opportunities to help out with these different projects. You can sponsor a child, and you can have the opportunity on down the road if you go on an ESM trip to meet that child. Another opportunity that our family had, because of our many trips down there, we've had some unique opportunities, and on this particular night, my family stayed overnight at Chapel with Yomara and her family. And this is a picture of the kids of Chapel and my children playing. We've got Rebecca down there on the right, and then Robbie in the glasses. And it didn't matter that we didn't speak their language. Everybody had a great time. Next picture. Now, if you choose to sponsor a child and you go on the ESM trip, you have the opportunity to meet that child. This is Max Conover. He's a senior that graduated last year from Troy Christian, and he went on our first trip down to Nicaragua when we took the students. And this is Tatiana. His family had started sponsoring her in December, and then he was able to meet her in the spring. And they spent the entire day together, having fun and just really enjoying themselves. Now, not everybody can go to Nicaragua, I understand that, but there are many ways that you can still connect with your students down there. You can send packages, you can send letters, and they will be sending letters up to you as well. And if you have something that you want to send down and make sure it gets there, we're more than happy to take it with us. Next picture. This is Guillermina, and she has a sponsor that lives in Tip City, and her sponsor hasn't been able to go to Nicaragua, but most of the time when we go down, she knows we're going, and she sends something along, and this is what we do, is we give it to them, we take a picture so that the sponsor can then see that their child is doing well and receive their gift. This is a little girl from Bradley's House of Hope, because you can also sponsor children at Bradley's House of Hope. This young lady got a gift from her sponsor, who happened to be our pastor, and they went on the trip with us, so they were able to give it to her personally. Next picture. This is Lot. He's another student from Bradley's House of Hope, and he has a sponsor up in this area also. He's kind of a showman. He loves it when we come, and he loves to show us how much better he's doing every time we go. The kids are very proud of how well they do at Bradley's House of Hope. They like to tell us what they've learned. We've had them recite the Lord's Prayer to us because they're so happy that they can do these things, because they've learned them at Bradley's house and then also at Chapel School. Without these projects, these kids would be probably on the streets, not in school, or if they're in school, they don't graduate. I believe the graduation rate in Nicaragua is about 6 or 7%. The graduation rate at Chapel is over 90%. So it is a very important project to support. Next picture. So in the future, if you all want to come along, this is one of our groups from last year in Nicaragua. We're standing over a lagoon there, getting a picture of the whole group, and we would love to have you. Besides sponsoring children, there are many other opportunities to help these different projects. At Bradley's House of Hope, you can sponsor a child, or you can sponsor a day of therapy, you can sponsor horse therapy. The kids get to ride a horse during their therapy to help with their mobility and their balance and their control, and they love it. But it takes money to keep that horse, and so sponsoring a horse or sponsoring transportation is also another way. The transportation is a bus that goes out and picks the kids up for their therapy. Prior to having that bus, the parents had to get the children there. A lot of these kids don't walk, and so the parents would have to carry them, and it's not an easy route to get. So the transportation that they have now is very, very important. And you can also sponsor a teacher at Project Chapel. You can help support their salary per month, or you could pay the salary for the year, which is not near what anybody here makes, but it's important that we support those teachers. They get to the school by taking a bus that they have to pay for, and then once they get to the street or the road that Chapel is on, they either have to walk the 3 miles into Chapel on the dirt road, or they can use a bicycle that they then have to pay somebody to watch when they're not there so it doesn't get stolen, or they can take a motor taxi. But all of those things cost money on their very low salary, but it's important to them. They love what they do. So we have some brochures on the table as you go out if you're interested in sponsoring them. I also have some sign-up sheets back there. If you'd like to sign up, parents, if you'd like to sign up to sponsor a child, I can take care of getting that information to the right people, and then you'll be contacted with a child. Or you can, like I said, take a brochure. The websites are listed in the brochure. Also in the parent page, there's specific information about sponsorship. Thank you.
Well, I almost than anybody else. I'm very sorry to your ears here. I do hope a lot of you, boys and girls, you can even stop by. For parents aren't here, you want to stop over there and get a little brochure to take home. I think it is, you see now. Sometimes we hear with our ears, but it really helps to see with our eyes what people are doing down there. And Rebecca, we really appreciate all that she has done. I don't know if she's over here, so you can talk to her directly. And Mrs. Lockhart will be over there that weekend. Well, for right now, we're going to do Student in the Sunlight, and Dr. Wilbur's going to come up and do our hugging for us up here.